Hello everyone, my name is Gavin, and this will be a tutorial on how to make a simple crafting feature. I won't be doing anything super in-depth as far as going into alternate menus to enable your crafting menu, except stuff like that. I'll just be doing a thing where we're going to have just two separate formulas that we can use, and if we don't want to actually craft an item, we can press the space bar and it'll reset it. Alright, I'm just going to get started. So to start off, what we're going to do is right-click on this light, hit X delete, and right-click on this camera and hit X delete. And right-click on this right here, this cube in the middle, and let's rename this cube as blue, and let's make this cube blue like this. So change the color to blue like this. Hit Shift and D, and let's minus this material right here. Hit New, and let's make this cube now red, and let's label this cube as red. And you may be wondering why we're doing this, but essentially this is going to be our crafting icons. So we're going to click on these, and then whatever formula we make is going to determine what object we want. Alright, for both of these I'm just going to make them an actor really quick. So select Blender Game, hit this, and hit actor for both. Go into Game Logic View right here, and what we're going to do is let's choose one of these cubes to essentially be the main one which has the script on it. I'll just use the blue one. So let's add an always sensor like this, add a mouse over sensor, or a mouse sensor, and label it as mouse over any, but I'll name it as mouse over like this. Alright, and let's have the property icon like this, and I'll actually add the property icon onto each one of these cubes, add a game property and just name it as icon. Okay, now that we have this, let's have a mouse sensor. I'll call it click. Let's have tap selected, left button, and let's have a keyboard sensor. I'll name this keyboard sensor as space. I'll click tap, and I'll put the spacebar key inside there. Alright, add a Python controller now and connect all of these. Okay, now that we got that, we're going to actually need some sort of indicator that we're actually crafting something. So let's add two game properties, and these game properties are just going to be labeled as just random things. So this first one will be water, and this one will be food. And you may be wondering what we're going to do with this, but we're going to have water and food are going to be the two items that we're going to craft from our blue and our red cube. So the formula I'm thinking of right off the top of my head is two water is going to two blue is going to equal water, and one blue, one red is going to equal food. So that's what we're going to do. Let's then add two more game properties. And these game properties are going to be blue and red. So this is essentially going to be how much we, well, essentially what I'm going to call this is how many items we currently have selected. So if I click on the blue cube, it's going to add one to blue. And if I click on it again, it'll craft water. The last thing what we're going to do is have a variable called count. And count is going to be how many items we've selected. So if we craft one item, so if we have one item selected like blue, it's going to say, okay, our count's going to equal 1. Click all these eyes right here and do game and then show debug properties like this. And what we're going to do is just hit P, and we should see water, food, blue, red, count. Okay, now that we got that, let's do templates Python, and then game logic simple. I kind of lost where it was really quick, right here. And let's drag this out and delete the portion I've highlighted, and hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And I'll just rename this as crafting.py. Okay, now that we have that, we're just going to define all of our three sensors right here. So mouse over is going to equal controller.sensors. Mouse over, click is going to equal controller.sensors. Click, and space is going to equal controller.sensors space. Alright, now that we have that, what we're immediately going to do is actually I'll have it selected so that three blue will equal water, and 2 red and 1 blue will equal food. The reason why I want to do that is it'll be more effective for when we use the space bar. So what we're just going to have right off the bat is we're going to have it so that if we don't actually like the choices that we selected, or if we made a mistake, like we don't want to have food, or we don't want to have, like, a red selected or something, we're just going to have if space dot positive and own count, or the amount of items we have selected, is not equal to 3. What we're just going to do is have own blue is going to equal 0, and then own red is going to equal 0. So it's essentially just going to it's just going to set it back to the original, so back to default, I guess. Alright, but next what we want to do is have it so that we can get these two red and blue items inside of our script. So let's get the scene up here. So scene is going to equal bge.logic.getCurrentScene, like this. And what we're just going to do is define our red and blue cube. So red is going to equal scene.objects red, and blue is going to equal scene.objects blue. Alright, what we now want to do is have if our mouse over is positive. So if mouse over dot positive, we're going to have the variable target is going to equal mouse over dot hit object. We're going to have if target is equal to, let's say, red. Well, actually, we have to have a click first. So if we click our sensor, if our mouse is over something and we click, so if click.positive, and if target is equal to red, we're going to have the own red variable is going to plus equal 1 for starters. And if target is equal to blue, we're going to have own blue is going to plus equal 1. So now that we have that, and I'll just show you the script for a second. What we're now going to do is just make our mouse visible. So let's do from BGE, import render, and let's do render.showMouse 1 like this. So we should see if I hit play and click, the blue is going to go up every time we click, and the red is going to go up every time we click. Okay? What we now want to do is have it so that our own count variable is going to add up our red and our blue cubes, or it's essentially our own count is going to equal own blue plus red. So plus own red. So we should see now if I hit play and click, we're going to have 2 and 4 is equal to 6. Alright, now that we've got that, what we're going to do now is have it so that if our count reaches 3, which is the maximum amount of items we're going to allow for crafting, so if own count is equal to 3, we're going to have own blue is going to equal to 0, and own red is going to equal to 0. And this is actually the if statement we're going to do our crafting in as well. So I'm going to hit play now, and we can see once it reaches 3, it's just going to go back down to 0. Okay, and it looks like it stops on 2, but it really stops on 3. Now that we have that, I'm just going to hit P really quick and test something. You notice that every time we hit the space bar, if it's less than 3, it'll go back down to 0. Okay, now what we're going to do is have it so if our count variable is equal to 3, it's going to test one of our formulas. So what we're going to do first is have if own count is equal to 3. Let's have another if statement. So let's have if own blue is equal to 3, like this. So essentially, if all 3 of our objects were blue that we selected, we're going to have own water is going to plus equal 1. And if own red is equal to 2 and own blue is equal to 1, we're going to have own food is going to plus equal 1. So I'm just going to type out food formula as a note, or water formula, sorry. Water formula right there. And then food formula like this. Alright? And I'll actually just go over the script really quick since I feel like it's kind of confusing for maybe some of you. So for right here, if we have the maximum amount of items selected, and if our own blue is equal to 3, it's going to create a water bottle. And if we've got 2 red selected and 1 blue, it's going to create a food item. So if I hit P now and click 3 red, you see water, or 3 blue, sorry, you'll see water goes up by 1. But if I select 2 red and 1 blue, food is going to go up by 1. And you can see I'm crafting items like this every time. I've got 1 blue right now, 2 red. I made food. And realistically, you'd also have a feature in here most likely, which would be like, you don't have an unlimited amount of blue or red items left. You use them as you go along. But that's how it works. Okay, I'm now going to go over the script really quick. Yeah, alright. So at the top of our script, we're just making the mouse visible. So that's just all we're doing for there. We import the scene because we need to get our red and blue objects in our script as well right here. We've got our 3 sensors we defined as mouse over, click, and space. If we press the space bar, that essentially sets all our items back to default. So if we don't have all the items needed for crafting an item selected yet, it's just going to set it back to 0. If our mouse is hovering over an object, it'll apply the variable name targets to whatever object it's hitting. If we click a button, it's going to determine whether or not it's a red or a blue object. And if we click on one of those, it's going to add whichever one we clicked. If the amount of items we have selected is 3, it's going to add 1 to water if it's all blue, and if it's 2 red and 1 blue, it's going to add to food. And then after it does that, it's going to reset all the items selected to 0. The onCounts variable is then going to equal the blue plus the red. Okay guys, that is item crafting. I hope you found this useful.